I am hopping on here. This is literally being recorded right now with my crappy little white corded Apple earphones with the mic, so the sound's going to be really bad. But in a minute, it's going to get better. So this one was sitting in the trash bin. I was not going to publish this one. It it was very spontaneous. It was very raw, very unfiltered. It left me feeling a little too vulnerable. But I made it right after I recorded the calm in the storm visualization and then the part two. I don't know why. I just wanted to get on and it was just a very heartfelt moment. But then later I was like, no, we're not publishing that. That's a little too much. Um, but I don't know. It just kept coming back to me. I'm going to put it out there. This is, I don't even know if you can call it a testimony. I feel like I'm the least qualified person to be putting something out there like that, like a little testimony. Um, but this is just my personal experience of finding God in the storm. And this is not like I have figured it out or I haven't made, like I am no one to be talking on this matter. But I have been through it. I have been deep in the darkness, and I am probably like the least likely person that should be finding God. And I'm not even here to say that I am really. But I don't know. I wanted to share this one, I guess, in case I feel like I'm going to be repeating myself. So I'm going to play the trashed audio here in a minute, but maybe somebody else out there too has been through this where it's like you've given up on God and then you kind of have a moment where you're just kind of like, well, maybe this could work. I feel like through making the visualization and the part two, which was like a request from a viewer, I was kind of like, well, maybe, and I've already had that moment. I already had that moment where I was like, well, maybe I should give this God guy a second chance, or this Jesus guy a second chance. And I've had that moment, but I don't know that I ever really give him a full chance. And I don't know, when I was making the visualization, I was kind of like, well, maybe, I don't know, I just felt something I hadn't felt in a while. And I was like, well, maybe I should give this guy a second chance. I don't know. It was just such a weird experience, and I don't really know what to make of it. So if anyone has any advice on this or has been through this, or maybe this is for somebody who's going through it and they just maybe just to make someone not feel alone, I don't know. But if you have anything you can share, I would love to hear your comments. Okay, here it is. I just felt inspired to hop on here and just have a little heart to heart. I got a request from a viewer for a faith-based visualization, and to be completely honest, at first I thought I definitely wouldn't do it because I just knew that it would bring up too much for me. But it kept coming up in my space, so I don't know who exactly this visualization and these declarations are for, but I felt it in my heart to put these out there, and I resisted. I feel like an imposter. I feel like I don't belong here. This is not my territory. I will say that I have dabbled in Christianity a bit as an adult, so it's not like it's totally new to me. And recently I have been kind of dipping my toes in the Christian
rewiring space. But I always say that I make a terrible Christian and a terrible atheist. I don't know where I belong. I definitely cannot keep up with the Christian Joneses. All I know is that there was a point in my journey where what little faith I had was completely shattered by the passing of my young daughter and my heart breaking from watching so many other innocent children around her suffer the same fate. And for a while, I was very angry at God. And I swore to never have anything to do with him. And I hated anything to do with Christianity or anything else spiritual. It was a very big trigger for me. I was trying to recover from a chronic illness that I feel was induced by the passing of my daughter and the chronic fight or flight that everyone was in when we fought the battle to save her from cancer. So I was in grief, I was in chronic illness, I was really struggling, and I remember thinking, I never imagined life could be so dark. It seemed there was nothing in this world that could help me. And to top it off, if I ever did believe, which was shaky anyway, that there was a God that could help me, that was gone too. Not only was I going through grief, but I was going through a massive spiritual crisis. I wish I could say I was one of those people that had good faith and handled the grief well, and I didn't. My grief was a mess. It came out as anger at God. I wanted something to blame, but there was nothing to blame, and all I could think was either there's not a God, or if there is, he's terrible, or he just doesn't have the power. And I just remember thinking, if he couldn't save my daughter, what the hell makes me think he could help me? So I was just very angry. And I had a dream one night, just out of the blue. And I was rocking in a rocking chair. It was pitch black outside. I was rocking back and forth frantically, and I remember looking up at the sky, and I couldn't even find the moon. And I said, it is so dark out here. How is it so dark out here? There's no light. And I tipped over in the chair, and I said out loud in the dream, I thought I could do it without you, God, but I can't. I need you. And then I crawled on my hands and my knees in the dark desert, through the sand. I had to cross a busy highway and I made it through the highway. And I suddenly remembered through this, after tipping over in the rocking chair, that that there was a camp in the distance that was mine. I was supposed to be heading for that camp. And that was where I belonged. And so I crawl on my hands and my knees in the dark. All I could do was feel. I couldn't see anything. And I made it back to the camp, and there was one light on in the camper behind the door. And it was this foggy, like a frosty camper window. And there was a silhouette behind it. And I opened the door, and it was my daughter who had passed. I don't know why she was in it. I don't know why I had that dream. But I woke up in the middle of the night. I went to the bathroom, and I don't know why I said this, but I repeated what I said in the dream. And I remember thinking, I have no idea how in the hell I would ever be able to reconcile my relationship with God after all this. When my daughter had cancer, it was the first time ever that I really gave my all to God. I was willing to try anything, and I had some Christian people around me, and of course, you're desperate, and they advertised that maybe she could heal through faith, or so. We had a lot of people praying for her. Anyway, faithful people. And she had the most perfect faith of anybody. On her deathbed, she refused to let this thing win. She truly believed she was going to be healed, even to the very end. And I remember she wouldn't let anyone in the room who would say anything against that. After she passed, I was like, that was all just a bunch of bullshit. Why did I even waste my time? This stuff doesn't work. And I got really negative. And yeah, I went deep into chronic illness. And I think at that point, when I had the dream, I'd been pretty pissed off at God. This was after my daughter passed for about, a good year. I wanted nothing to do with him or anyone that had anything to sell about Jesus or anything religious or spiritual. I was like, leave me the F alone. That stuff is bullshit. I'm not wasting my time anymore. It was a great experiment, but he's obviously not there. And anyway, I don't know why I'm sharing this or where I'm going with all of this, but I'm going to try to wrap this up. I don't know. I think mostly I just felt spontaneously inspired to get on here and record this, as with these 2 parts that I just got done recording. Making this one was a really emotional and transformative process in a whole different way than the usual visualizations I have been putting into my daily morning practice and recording and sharing them here. I think maybe I just wanted to hop on here in case anyone else has been through something similar. This was put on my heart to put out there. I don't know why. And I'm trying to reconcile my relationship with God. I totally suck at it. I do not belong here. I don't call myself a Christian because I am not. I am the worst of them all. But yeah, I felt a lot of like imposter syndrome putting this out there, and I was like, and this is me being really judgmental. So look in the mirror, Sandy. But I was like, I have seen Christians on social media, and they're like piranhas, and they are going to destroy me if I get anything wrong within this, but it's just in my heart, and I want to put this one out there. And if nothing else, maybe I want to do it for myself, because maybe there's a chance, I don't know, maybe I want to let this Jesus guy in a little bit, even though I have no idea what I'm doing. But that's where I'm coming from. And I do want to say, I don't know if I can even call this a testimony or anything. It's just a little thing. But I can say that going through hard things sucks. I know that probably most people who are on my channel are going through something extremely difficult. More difficult than most people can ever imagine or ever have to face. And it's not just one hard thing. It is like a million stones in your boat that are so heavy. It's like the extreme end of difficulty. Like turning the knob on life all the way up to difficulty and then staying there for a while. It's hard. The only thing that I know, and it took me going through some crazy twists and turns to come to this, is that however you find God, it's a lot easier going through the hard things with God than without. So, okay, that's all I have to say. I don't know if I'm actually going to publish this one. I feel like this is me being too vulnerable. This is too near and dear to my heart. This is me really just laying it out there. But I guess I wanted to put some context to this, that I'm not, I don't know, I'm no one to be putting this out there, but I am. I don't know. I felt the need to put it out there. And maybe even if one person gets something out of it, then I guess the purpose was served. All right. That's all. Bye.